Hello dear students, welcome to this program. Today we are going to discuss about hormones. Before discussing this topic in detail, let's first know its objectives. What are hormones? To understand the classification of hormones, discuss epinephrine and thyroid hormones, and what are the functions of hormones. Now let's start. Hormones. A hormone is a chemical substance that has a specific effect on an organ or in some cases on all body tissues. The endocrine system is composed of a network of glands that include the pituitary gland, adrenal glands, thyroid gland, parathyroid glands, pancreas, testes in males, ovaries in females, and placenta in females of most species. Hormones are peptides or proteins, lipids or amino acid derivatives which after their secretion act on receptors to cause reactions within the respective receptive cells. Each cell of the body is in one way or another regulated by hormones. Hence, hormones exert innumerable effects on animals and humans. Basically, hormones vitally modify three biological processes. They are essential for reproduction, for optimal survival, and for normal biological performance. Hence, they are essential for the maintenance of species and for coping with daily environmental influences. The glands that secrete hormones comprise the endocrine signaling system. The term hormone is sometimes extended to include chemicals produced by cells that affect the same cell, autocrine or intracrine signaling, or nearby cells, that is paracrine signaling. Hormones are used to communicate between organs and tissues to physiological regulation and behavioral activities such as digestion, metabolism, respiration, tissue function, sensory perception, sleep, excretion, lactation, stress, growth and development, movement, reproduction, and mood. Now, classification of hormones. Knowing the basic structure of a hormone gives a considerable knowledge about its receptor and mechanism of action. Like all molecules, hormones are synthesized, exist in a biologically active state for a time, and then degrade or are destroyed. Having an appreciation for the half-life and mode of elimination of a hormone aids in understanding its role in physiology and is critical when using hormones as drugs. Hormones are classified into four structural groups, with members of each group having many properties in common: peptides and proteins, amino acid derivatives, steroids, fatty acid derivatives, that is eicosanoids. Peptides and proteins. Peptide and protein hormones are products of translation. They vary considerably in size and post-translational modifications, ranging from peptides as short as 3 amino acids to large multi-subunit glycoproteins. Peptide hormones are synthesized in endoplasmic reticulum, transferred to the Golgi, and packaged into secretory vesicles for export. They can be secreted by one or two pathways: regulated secretion and constitutive secretion. Now, amino acid derivatives. There are two groups of hormones derived from the amino acid tyrosine. Thyroid hormones are basically a double tyrosine with a critical incorporation of 3 or 4 iodine atoms. Catecholamines include epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are used as both hormones and neurotransmitters. The circulating half-life of thyroid hormones is on the order of a few days. Two other amino acids are used for synthesis of hormones. Tryptophan is the precursor to serotonin and the pineal hormone melatonin. Glutamic acid is converted to histamine. Now, steroids. Steroids are lipids and more specifically derivatives of cholesterol. Examples include the 6 steroids such as testosterone and adrenal steroids such as cortisol. The first and rate-limiting step in the synthesis of all steroid hormones is conversion of cholesterol to pregnenolone, which demonstrate the system of numbering rings and carbons for identification of different steroid hormones. Pregnenolone is formed on the inner membrane of mitochondria, then shuttled back and forth between mitochondria and the endoplasmic reticulum for further enzymatic transformations involved in synthesis of derivative steroid hormones. Newly synthesized steroid hormones are rapidly secreted from the cell with little, if any, storage. Increases in secretion reflect accelerated rates of synthesis. Following secretion, all steroids bind to some extent to plasma proteins. Steroid hormones are typically eliminated by inactivating metabolic transformations and excretion in urine or bile. Fatty acid derivatives, eicosanoids. Eicosanoids are a large group of molecules derived from polyunsaturated fatty acids. The principal groups of hormones of this class are prostaglandins, prostacyclins, leukotrienes, and thromboxanes. Arachidonic acid is the most abundant precursor of these hormones. Stores of arachidonic acid are present in membrane lipids and released through the action of various lipases. A great variety of cells produce prostaglandins, including those of the liver, kidneys, heart, lungs, thymus gland, pancreas, brain, and reproductive organs. In contrast to hormones, prostaglandins usually act locally, affecting only adjacent cells or the very cell that secreted it. Prostaglandins are potent and are presented in very small quantities. They are not stored in cells but rather are synthesized just before release. These hormones are rapidly inactivated by being metabolized and are typically active for only a few seconds. Now, epinephrine or adrenaline hormones. Epinephrine, also known as adrenaline or adrenaline, is primarily a medication and hormone. It's a stress hormone produced within the adrenal gland that quickens the heartbeat, strengthens the force of the heart's contraction, and opens up the bronchioles in the lungs, among other effects. The secretion of adrenaline is part of the human fight and flight response to fear, panic, or perceived threat. As a medication, it's used for a number of conditions including anaphylaxis, cardiac arrest, and superficial bleeding. It may also be used for asthma when other treatments are not effective. It is given intravenously by injection into a muscle, by inhalation, or by injection just under the skin. Now, dear students, some of the common side effects include are shakiness, anxiety, and sweating. A fast heart rate and high blood pressure may occur. Occasionally, it may result in an abnormal heart rhythm, while the safety of its use during pregnancy and breastfeeding is unclear. The benefits to the mother must be taken into account. Epinephrine is normally produced by both the adrenal glands and certain neurons. It plays an important role in the fight or flight response by increasing blood flow to muscles, output of the heart, pupil dilation, and blood sugar. Epinephrine does this by its effects on alpha and beta receptors. Is found in many animals and some one-celled organisms. Thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone plays a critical role in differentiation, growth, and metabolism. Indeed, thyroid hormone is required for the normal function of nearly all tissues, with major effects on oxygen consumption and metabolic rate. Disorders of the thyroid gland are among the most common endocrine maladies. Furthermore, endemic cretinism due to iodine deficiency remains a public health problem in developing countries at the advent of the third millennium. Thus, the study of thyroid hormone action has important biological and medical implications. The story of thyroid hormone action is interwoven with many of the major advances in biomedical science during the past century. Contributions from clinical medicine, physiology, biochemistry, and molecular genetics have led major impacts on our understanding of thyroid hormone action. The thyroid hormones, thyroxine and triiodothyronine, are secreted by the thyroid gland and are critically important for normal development of CNS in infants, skeletal growth and maturation in children, normal function and multiple organ systems in adults. The thyroid hormones T3 and T4 are formed in a large prohormone molecule, thyroglobulin, the major component of the thyroid and more precisely of the colloid. Thyroglobulin is synthesized in the thyroid follicular cells and secreted into the lumen of the follicles. It's an iodinated glycoprotein made up of two identical subunits, each with a molecular weight of 330,000 daltons. It's of special importance because it is necessary for the synthesis of thyroid hormones and represents their form of storage. The formation of the thyroid hormones depends on an exogenous supply of iodide. The thyroid gland is unique in that it is the only tissue of the body able to accumulate iodine in large quantities and incorporate it into hormones. The formation of thyroid hormones involves a complex sequence of events including active uptake of iodide by the follicular cells, oxidation of iodide and formation of iodotyrosyl residues of thyroglobulin, formation of iodothyronines from iodotyrosines, proteolysis of thyroglobulin and release of T4 and T3 into blood, and conversion of T4 to T3. Thyroid hormones T4 and T3 are tyrosine-based hormones produced by the follicular cells of the thyroid gland and are regulated by TSH made by the thyrotropes of the anterior pituitary gland and are primarily responsible for regulation of metabolism. Iodine is necessary for the production of T3, tri-iodotyronine and T4, thyroxine. A deficiency of iodine leads to decreased production of T3 and T4, enlarges the thyroid tissue and will cause the disease known as goiter. The thyronines act on nearly every cell in the body. They act to increase the basal metabolic rate, affect protein synthesis, help regulate long bone growth, synergy with growth hormones and neural maturation, and increase the body's sensitivity to catecholamines such as adrenaline. The thyroid hormones are essential to proper development and differentiation of all cells of the human body. These hormones also regulate protein, fat and carbohydrate metabolism, affecting how human cells use energetic compounds. They also stimulate vitamin metabolism. Numerous physiological and pathological stimuli influence thyroid hormone synthesis. Thyroid hormone leads to heat generation in humans. However, the thyroamines function via some unknown mechanism to inhibit neuronal activity. This plays an important role in the hibernation cycles of mammals and the molting behavior of birds. Iodine essential for thyroid hormone synthesis. Iodide is actively absorbed from the bloodstream by a process called iodide trapping. In this process, sodium is co-transported with iodide from the basolateral side of the membrane into the cell and then concentrated in the thyroid follicles to about 30 times its concentration in the blood. Via a reaction with the enzyme thyroperoxidase, iodine is bound to tyrosine residues in the thyroglobulin molecules, forming monoiodotyrosine (MIT) and diiodotyrosine (DIT). Linking two molecules of DIT produces thyroxine. Combining one particle of MIT and one particle of DIT produces triiodothyronine. If there is a deficiency of dietary iodine, the thyroid will not be able to make thyroid hormone. The lack of thyroid hormone will lead to decreased negative feedback on the pituitary, leading to increased production of thyroid stimulating hormone, which causes the thyroid to enlarge. Now, circulation and transport. Most of the thyroid hormone circulating in the blood is bound to transport proteins. Only a very small fraction of the circulating hormone is free, unbound and biologically active. Hence, measuring concentrations of free thyroid hormones is of great diagnostic value. When thyroid hormone is bound, it is not active, so the amount of free T3 or T4 is what is important. For this reason, measuring total thyroxine in the blood can be misleading. Related diseases. Both excess and deficiency of thyroxine can cause disorders. Hyperthyroidism, an example is Graves' disease, is the clinical syndrome caused by an excess of circulating free thyroxine, free triiodothyronine, or both. It is a common disorder that affects approximately 2% of women and 0.2% of men. Hypothyroidism, an example is Hashimoto's disease, is the case where there is a deficiency of thyroxine, triiodothyronine, or both. Functions of hormones. Human body contains more than 100 different types of hormones, and they run in our bloodstream at the rate of thousands of billions on units a day. The main functions of hormones are as follows. Hormones regulate our heartbeat and our breathing. Hormones make men men and women women. Hormones put us to sleep at night and they wake us up in the morning. They control our blood pressure, build our bones, maintain muscle tone, and lubricate joints. Hormones govern growth. They make the body produce energy and heat. Hormones burn fat. Hormones govern the menstrual cycle and allow pregnancy and birth to occur. They fight stress, prevent fatigue, calm anxiety, and relieve depression. Hormones make and keep memories. Hormones maintain the correct level of sugar in the blood and tissues. They resist allergic reactions and infections and soothe pain. Hormones control the sex drive, virility, and fertility. They stimulate our brain and our immune system. Sometime during our 20s, our hormones begin a process of degeneration. This degeneration eventually produces the signs and symptoms of premature aging. Hormones are really quite complex, but if we understand them, they are critical to growth of cells and system processes. Then we can imagine their importance in the age management treatment program. During youth, hormones are key in our growing up process. We build strong bones, increase lean muscle, build strength and endurance, and combat disease. Essentially, hormones help us mature to adulthood. A few of our essential hormones and their functions. Estrogen, main sex hormone of the female body. In females, it causes puberty, causes menstrual cycle, prepares uterus for fertilization. Progesterone, not main but similar to estrogen, helps to maintain menstrual cycle. FSH, it causes menstrual cycle to start. LH, midway through menstrual cycle, triggers ovulation and creates corpus luteum. In guys, it is responsible for production of testosterone. Insulin decreases blood sugar created by pancreas. Glycagon increases blood sugar. Testosterone makes guys grow male body parts, muscles. Thyrosin promotes metabolism. Aldosterone regulates kidney functions. Oxytocin triggers childbirth. Antidiuretic hormone regulates water retention. Dear students, it's all about this topic. Thank you.